Hey there.
Welcome.
Hello,
Hey.
hello. We are still a little crooked.
Are we? Oh,
Yeah,
we're down.
Okay. So here we are.
CCSK.
He's
Here
talking
yet?
about the picture in the video.
We're not crooked.
We're not crooked.
Yeah, not ethically crooked. We do our greatest extent to uphold the ethics, whilst we drink here at the bar.
Absolutely.
And give you advice.
Absolutely.
Answer your questions.
We're in a good place today. Ooh, gosh, that was close.
Yeah, we've not been here before.
No.
For the bar anyway.
No,
I've
I've
been
been
here
here
several
a couple
times.
times, yeah.
Delicious.
I have not been here. I've
Oh.
not. This is my first time here.
Oh,
Right, so food's amazing. Might want to turn it slightly that way to get
Towards
Kurt.
Kurt?
Yeah, just a little bit towards Kurt. When I moved it moved more. There we go. Move in.
All
We'll
right.
clean this all up in post.
That's right.
That's one of my favorites.
Just-
we say that all the time. That's my
Get
favorite
it.
phrase.
Yep. But we're here at Yats.
But here we are. We're at Yats, and we're
Right,
on
in
Lincoln Way
Valparaiso.
back here.
Mhm.
Or is this the University Promenade? Is that what the street's called? Promenade. Promenade.
I would go with Promenade.
Promenade.
Even though I'm pretty sure that's wrong. I'm pretty sure Promenade's correct. But yeah, we've got a few different things here. They are like a Louisiana, Cajun, New Orleans style.
That's what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
style.
it's usually like I think if I remember, I haven't been here in a while, but the last time I was here it was like a rice thing with something mixed in. It's really good.
Cajun,
Creole,
crazy.
That's crazy.
This right here. Okay.
So I'll let Isaac explain.
They call it the bottoms up beer. So you take this draft machine. On the very bottom, there is a magnetic seal that has a hole in the middle of the cup. Literally, if I were to put my finger, I could put my finger through that, and the beer would it'd be a bad idea. The beer would go everywhere.
I think I saw this thing on Shark Tank.
They had it on maybe it was Shark Tank.
Yeah.
It was advertised, like it was a big thing.
Huh.
They have the only one in the Northwest Indiana region.
Do you own a region with it?
I don't know. Maybe it is regionally.
That's kind of cool.
But they have the only one in the Northwest Indiana region. And so they take this cup, they have the magnet in there, but when they
tip it up to show the bottom.
I won't. I'm not going to tip it up to show the bottom. When you put it on to the machine, it pushes up the top and fills the thing up with beer from the bottom
How does it
up.
not just shoot up like through the if you had a hole in the bottom of the cup and you put it on, why did it shoot straight up?
I just don't think it's that powerful.
I just
Does
don't
it
know how does it fill up without pouring out the bottom?
Well, because the part that it sits into
It
seals
just seals. Okay.
It seals just right.
It is just American ingenuity.
It really is. And then when you lift it back off,
Solving problems
the
that aren't
magnet-
even really problems.
The problems you didn't know you had.
but there's further. Oh wait, there's more.
But there's more.
All right. So this magnet at the very bottom actually has Yat's name on it. And if you get an orange one, like if you drink the rest of this beer, when I drink the rest of this beer, and it says, or if it's an orange one versus like a green one that was in another one, I get a free dinner.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Alternatively, I can then take I can take a coin, no matter
Now,
what color it is.
Is this like, okay, you can have the meal or you can take the coin and throw it?
No, I'm pretty sure you can.
You
I
get
don't know. But what
Okay.
he meant by throw it, they have a magnetic sticker up on. I mean, it's
Like a board.
It's like a board.
Yeah.
Up on the top of their I don't know, it's close to their ceiling, right below the ceiling. And you take this magnet and you have to stand back behind the bar and throw it. And if you make it on there, you get a free cheesecake.
Free cheesecake?
Free
piece of
cheesecake.
cheesecake.
Free piece of cheesecake. Maybe not the entire
You only
cheesecake.
get the whole cheesecake. You
That's
get
a
a
good
piece
point.
Just point a little bit more towards Kurt.
A little more towards Kurt. We want more Kurt.
But we sound the audio's okay?
Audio's okay.
All right.
Kurt,
I'm gonna
Squeeze in, Kurt.
I'm squeezing
They
in.
really. I can
We're gonna get cozy.
All right.
I got like half Kurt's face.
He's in
How
there
about
now.
now? I'm in there now. I got it.
Okay.
There you go.
Yep. Well,
There
this
you
is
I
getting
was watching on
cozy.
delay too.
We're getting Cajun, Creole, crazy.
So
and-
Cajun.
And so here's something you learn in law school about Louisiana, is that everything you learn in law school, it doesn't apply to Louisiana.
That's true.
They have
They
their
are
law
their
is
own
based
thing.
on French law, whereas most of ours is based on Old English law
Case law.
with our own like flavor thrown in for
They're
That's
a little
right.
different.
We
Yeah.
work on case law. It means we write broad statutes that are interpreted by the courts.
I don't think you can say broad.
We write more
Comprehensive
general,
statute.
comprehensive. Is it comprehensive? That's good.
Comprehensive
That's
statute.
applied case by
I like
case
that, yes.
by the courts, and then we rely on those court precedents,
The
those court
decisions,
opinions,
yeah.
those decisions, to then make our determination how to move
But
forward.
not all of them because some of them are just
Some of them are
random
unpublished.
decisions. Unpublished.
Yeah, welcome to Law School 101. But Louisiana, throws that out the door, right? They go back to a civil law.
And it must be easy because it must be easier
Only
because
state.
What's his name passed the bar without like even going to law school.
Oh, that one dude.
Yeah.
Frank, was it Frank Abagnale?
Yeah,
Abagnale or
right.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't think of who the guy
Can you still do that? Can you still study and just take the bar?
It depends what
Down
state
there?
you're in.
Louisiana. We're talking Louisiana.
Oh, in Louisiana?
I
Oh,
wonder, can
whether
you
you
still
still
do
can?
that?
I don't know. I
That'd be
know. I
a
know
lot
some
cheaper,
states they let you because some states the bar is so hard they're like, yeah, go ahead.
I love that movie, by the way. It's a great
It's a good movie.
It's called Catch Me If You Can with
Yeah.
Leonardo
Where all he did,
DiCaprio,
and
yeah.
I
and
couldn't
there
think
was
of
the one part that he
Leonardo
was
da
like,
Vinci. I couldn't think of
DiCaprio.
Oh, Da Vinci.
Da Vinci,
I couldn't
DiCaprio.
think of Leonardo da Vinci either.
You couldn't.
Probably shouldn't have thought of him.
Probably not.
But
That's
like,
all right.
but that was like the one part he's like, I actually studied. Because they were like, how
Yeah.
did you cheat your way through that? He just, no, I actually studied for it. He was that intelligent.
There's still a lot of discussion as to whether it's a lot of people still think he made it all up and it was all a bunch of BS. But it's a great story if it was made up. He knows
Yes,
how to
it
make
is.
up a good story. Because,
Oh yeah.
But you do see that sometimes, right? Because at the end of that story, he ended up getting hired by the FBI to help them in their counterfeit division.
I think that's
Yeah.
legit. That he
and
actually
that's
was.
legit. I think he did actually work for the FBI. So,
That's fantastic.
which you see that sometimes, where sometimes they'll go out and get people that have done
But-
things and have them help prevent it.
That does not mean it's okay to commit crimes because it's all going to work out in the end.
No, it does not.
I'll say that most of the time.
How many people have been in crime, been caught doing stuff like that since before his time?
Right.
And now, nobody. He's the only one that. Man, your odds are better hit lottery.
Right? Despite the classic, TV show series that talks about, well, we're bringing in this criminal to help us investigate these cases because he's so good at it. But if he
Yeah.
messes up, you're going straight back to prison.
Well,
In that white collar.
there's a lot of movies that say a lot of things.
But
Just
then there's
leave it
some
at that.
things. There's some things that are almost unbelievable in real life, such as, let's say, if I wanted to start a church,
How about a cannabis church?
well, a cannabis church, that'd be fantastic.
Why wouldn't they just call it a marijuana church?
I don't know.
I mean,
I
are
don't
they
know.
really thinking they were going to fool somebody?
The-
Cannabis, they won't know.
This
what
is
that
the
is.
technical
the
term.
Church
so
of
they're-
St. Mary Jane.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, the Blessed Church of Mary Jane
Mhm.
and Sister Mary Jane.
Sister Mary Jane.
You do it that way. So anyway, but for real, there is in Indianapolis, a
That's right.
Church-
The Church of Cannabis.
first church of cannabis.
That's right. And
That's what they call them.
they may have been the first. I'm not entirely sure, but
That's their name. Is First Church of Cannabis. I looked at their website online or their Facebook page.
oh no, yeah, that's their
And
actual
that
name.
was
So whether
actually-
they were actually the first,
Yeah.
who knows? But regardless,
A lot of people are taking sacrament,
a lot of people.
regardless of whether you're from the Church of Cannabis or not.
The Indiana's Religious Freedom Restoration Act. Restoration
Ruh-roh.
Act. Restoration Act, specifically allowing sacraments within churches. Well, this Church of Cannabis said, okay, well then our cannabis is a sacrament, and we're allowed to do that, and it's our freedom of religion to be able to do that. And they went to actually the court down in Marion County, Indiana, to say, yes, we're allowed to do this, and law enforcement cannot enforce it against us because that would be telling us what we can believe religiously in violation of our constitutional rights.
But you know what? It's interesting to me because I would think if that was okay, that then you would have first church meth.
Right.
At least the dealers would set it up anyway. Say, come worship here.
The
All you need is your offering this week.
all we need is your offering. Here, step back to the sacred alley,
Right.
make the transaction. But there was but that was actually a big
Not
argument.
to make
for
fun of
what
anybody that believes in the first church of cannabis and they think but it is a slippery slope.
Well, I
That
think
was
where the
the-
problem lies is they just came out of the blue. Like this thing's been around for a few years.
It's been around for 3 years.
Well, that's I said. It
Yeah,
started when
it started
when
they
I was
just
still in
opened
law
us up. Yeah.
because it became the subject of our pre-trial class with Professor.
Oh, really?
He sort of recreated it, and I had to be a defendant attorney because you know how much I love court.
Yeah,
I know.
that's what she's saying.
So I was the defendant for a sort of Jesus-like character, and among the things that they did in their Portage New Church was there was a sacrament that included marijuana. So I said
Speaking of,
that was what it was going to be. So
Nice.
Talk louder.
So anyway, all right, but
Yeah.
oh,
So Isaac,
so
continue
Lindsay's
on
here,
time.
and Lindsay's here.
Yep.
She's monitoring us over there.
Yeah.
She's producing,
We
executive producing tonight, Lindsay,
We
and
have a
also
Sure.
the one that took the time to get all these, like making arrangements for us
Yeah.
to get out on
Lindsay
the road.
set up the tour. She honestly took control of this tour. There she is.
Oh, I was gonna like,
There she is.
so
Yeah.
she's executive
She didn't wanna
producing
be
over
on
there
camera.
tonight.
She really is. Yeah, we couldn't have done it without you.
I'm gonna turn this a little
There
bit
we
more.
go. We're good
The
there.
wind when it picks up a little bit louder, guys.
All right.
All right, that darn wind, yeah, it's like gusty. I didn't
But-
realize it was that windy.
Yeah.
And then we went out for lunch today, and
Yeah.
I got blown away
Oh, nice.
walking over.
Nice.
Yep. But the case, unfortunately, after 3 years, was dismissed.
It only took 3 years.
Took
What's
3
shocking,
years.
it was still hadn't made it out of the county court.
Yeah. You
I
think
thought
they
for
would've
sure
just
it'd been at the
decided that-
appeals level by now.
How did this get pushed back so far? That's what I
There
want
should
to
be. They kept sleeping through.
They're going to get sleeping through there.
Sorry, Connor. We need a continuation. We can't get downtown today.
Yeah.
Too
So,
much sacrament again.
well, talk about just, how the legal system can be drawn out. I mean, you can file motion on motion on motion and file
Even when it's
extensions of
completely
time.
inappropriate.
Completely inappropriate. I mean, if you do
Yeah.
it too much, you will make the court angry, and they can file sanctions against you. But
Maybe the court needs a sacrament.
everybody needs just a sacrament to chill out for a minute,
Yeah.
But honestly, you can file motions and extensions for continuances. I mean, it's a default that you get 30, 60 days for
I
some
kind
of
of,
these things,
I kind of want to pull up the docket record and see, who filed what
How
and
they
what
were filed.
delayed it. Yeah,
which is
It's
public
kinda-
information. You
Yeah,
can
you can
publicly
go online
view
and do it.
case records.
'Cause I
That's a
just-
tip for you.
That would be interesting to see. Was it the state that kept pushing it off? Like we're
Yep.
trying to get information, trying to see if they're just going to go away,
Right.
or what? That'd be interesting.
Yeah, maybe so. But really, the court agreed with the government that this is a very much slippery slope. How would a cop ever enforce the smell of marijuana or paraphernalia if they don't know whether this person really is a believer, a sincere
Well,
believer in the Church of Cannabis?
I'll take that argument. I think that sacraments in most churches are church property, not within a home. So
Sure.
if it's within the church property,
Even on church property, though, at that
Are
point
you
you're still
like
asking for
having
the-
a ceremony, some
Yeah.
sort of religious ceremony every day for
no,
10
it's
hours
once
a day?
once a week
Are you-
on Wednesdays.
And then do
is
you
when they're
stay
doing
at church? I mean, how long do you stay at church? You go from 10 to 11. That wine that you took for,
Right.
hopefully that didn't put you over the legal driving limit.
it. Hope not.
You
They
know,
do it
when
right
you-
at the end.
They
Usually.
do it right at the end, but I don't know how much the sacrament is
Actually,
necessary.
it's
But
grape
when you
juice,
drive,
so it's-
it's all great
it's
juice,
so-
yeah.
But still, yeah.
It's
I
at
mean,
home.
it's one of those things that when you think about it, they're not talking about smoking every day. And I mean, if they're talking about just like communion at a Christian church, once a week or once a month we do this, I think the question comes down to the amounts. Because I mean, realistically, if the police force is going to know that this is the First Church of Cannabis,
Mhm.
and on their service nights, 5 to 7 on Wednesdays or whenever it is, that they might smell something there.
Or when you're driving home, though, too. They're going to smell something on you. When you're driving home, you get
Well,
pulled
see,
over.
now that goes to the
but
Supreme
if
Court,
somebody
though.
says
Like,
smell,
remember-
they can search if they search your car for smell and it's probable cause, and they say, well, I'm from the First Church of Cannabis, and they search your car, I mean,
We're not going to have
this is
anything in the
sacrament,
car.
you're not going to have
ideally,
anything in the car,
right?
Mm-hmm.
so they're
You
not
could
going to
get an OWI.
You might
What
get an
about
OWI
the-
if they can prove you're on it.
What about the preacher who's supplying, some of maybe the paraphernalia?
He's not selling it.
Well, you got to.
Dealer.
I think that's a better question. Is what's the delivery process?
Yeah,
I mean,
how
do
do
they
you
find the local
logistically-
guy downtown and
Yeah, let's really
say, hey
talk about
man,
the
are you
logistics of
delivering?
this.
I mean, if we're talking about logistics, now if they're ordering from Washington, California, Colorado, some of these states, and they're getting it direct from a supplier, then
I don't think you can cross state lines.
I think that brings a whole other set
Yeah,
of
now
questions.
That's
now you're
better
dealing
because the
with-
federal still has it
So how do
recognized.
you procure the
Yep.
sacramental?
Well, I would say I don't think it's hard to procure. I haven't tried. But
I don't think it's hard to.
I would
procure.
imagine
I'm trying to
it's
say how
available.
is the state allowing an illegal? I mean, are they allowing somebody to commit a crime in order to get it there by selling it to a church? Or are they going to say, okay, it's okay if you sell to this church, and then is there going to be a gang war trying to figure out who gets to sell at the church?
Gang war between the First Church of Cannabis And the second church of cannabis.
No, between all the dealers trying to get the business. I mean, that's
Right.
a big. You got legalized. You got a big haul there. That's a,
Yeah.
But the other part of it, I mean, that's become so decriminalized now. I mean, you really have to be dumb to like have just like a ton of stuff and get get caught or get run up, whatever it might be. I mean, they're really not going to arrest individuals.
I think
That's not on the record.
No,
but
You
it's
could
not worth.
legitimately,
you
legally,
can,
you could be arrested for that.
It's like trespassing.
If you do get
Am I
arrested for it, let me
trespassing
know.
if no one catches me? Yes, you are. But if you have to get caught.
Tips from the bar.
Right.
No,
you are
I,
still trespassing. You are still committing.
You
a
are
crime.
still committing a crime. You could be arrested for that.
it's one of those things that this drug is becoming
Thanks, Marina, for
less
sharing.
Oh, hey, hi.
Sharing is caring.
That's right.
Wait, are we still talking about the first church of cannabis?
Right.
Then it seems
No,
that-
their slogan is "I love you."
No,
That's
it's not past the ditchy to the right.
I love you.
left-hand
It's not
side.
past the ditch. He does. The guy stands up. I watched part of their a little sermon that they had.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, odd, but okay. So he gets up and like the beginning prayer is he says "I love you" and he does like all four of the directions and then just "I love you" and everybody. It's
For the
very
direction, you mean like puff,
like north,
puff,
south,
pass.
east, like north, south, east, west, not
Oh,
puff, yes.
okay. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
However,
On the full
How did this
directions
not
of
get
the
more
20?
press over
I
time?
don't know because
When they
it's a
first
big
had the-
topic.
Right. I remember.
That is a good topic,
It's
actually.
a big topic.
Like
I remember
sincerity
when
of
they
belief?
first did it because there really was. They made a big deal about doing it.
Sure.
They didn't hide it. Like the first time they met.
Maybe that's why the
They
government
had
dragged it out for
promoted
3
it.
years, so it kind of got
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. Did you?
But think about it,
how
this
did
is-
you hear about it?
I mean,
This one,
Decision
I
coming down.
actually had a client call me up
Oh.
and for completely academic purposes was asking about,
What's
like,
the deal?
what did you think as an attorney about this case coming down with sincerity of religious beliefs?
right.
Right? And at first I thought he was talking about the Supreme Court case that talked about the baker and versus denying same-sex marriage. That's
Right.
where I went to with religious belief. But no, he's talking about this cannabis case. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, it is a truly interesting case with regard to the sincerity of someone's beliefs.
Mhm.
How do you know if
How do you
someone
judge that?
sincerely believes, or is this Church of Cannabis just going to attract the non-believers as it was stated in the court
Right.
opinion?
If it becomes legal at this church,
Was
is it all of a
that the
sudden
argument that this was just going to be?
Going to be a whole lot of new believers.
Yeah.
That would be the primary attracting.
Well,
That's
you
a
go
slippery
go
slope.
to what defines a church in general, because the church is there is a definition to qualify as a.
No, they are
Sure.
underneath IRS standards.
Under
They
IRS
are
standards,
they are recognized.
Yeah.
They
They're
meet
recognized-
regularly.
They do.
Okay.
Yep.
That's when they started this process. Was once they got their 501c3 designation as a church. or
Oh.
whatever.
So they went that far.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
happened back in 2015.
They are a legitimate church. They
But
do
here's the
qualify
thing:
there.
this is becoming legalized. I mean, the entirety of Canada just legalized it.
Yeah.
You've got
Canada,
multiple
let's
states.
hold them up.
I know. I don't hold them up for a lot, but
Just
hey,
kidding.
you
Hey, just
know.
kidding.
Just kidding, man.
you've got a lot of states that are, if not recreational use, now it's becoming at least for medical purposes.
Sure.
And so
the oil.
the CBD oil is
CBD
legal
oil
in
is
Indiana.
legal in Indiana now.
You can buy it over the counter. You don't even need a prescription or anything
Right.
for it. So it's, I think this is something that, as a world, where there's other countries in the world too, other than just Canada, that have legalized. I think we're moving kind of in that direction with it.
Right.
So I mean, obviously, if it becomes legal, then it's no big deal. No one cares. This is just a question of because this is an illegal substance now. Then what?
Yeah.
But this goes back to we were talking earlier briefly about this. This goes back to a federal case from a long time ago about peyote.
The peyote.
The peyote
Yeah,
case. Yeah.
that was a big case that kind of dealt with this on some basis.
Yeah, and the thing of it is it never really came out and said that it was right or wrong. What it said was the person couldn't be penalized didn't it come down like an unemployment situation or
Okay.
it was like like the guy lost his job. It was some tangent thing that he got. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it wasn't. I had to study for that thing. I did because it was my argument. It was the basis for my argument, but it's another one of these Supreme Court rulings that wasn't on point. Like even the Baker thing wasn't on point.
Right.
It was that Colorado acted inappropriately in
Right.
in
And how
citing
they
these
did it.
people So we're not saying yay or nay,
Right.
but everybody comes out with a court decision going, oh, the decision's this. It's
Yeah,
not the decision.
I want to explain that one to the audience here because there
Sidebar.
that is extreme abuse by the media in terms of interpreting.
What?
court
Wait,
opinions.
whoa.
The media doesn't.
Are you
do
going to say
that.
the media is exploiting something?
I will say that there are some amazing journalists out there who can interpret court cases properly, but there's a lot of media out there that cannot. And they take the extreme.
They don't bother to try.
They don't bother to learn about how court cases actually handed down. What the Supreme Court held, whether it was right or wrong to hold this, basically said that it was more of a, you got to fix this technical issue
Right.
before you can actually have standing to sue here.
Right. The Colorado Civil Rights Commission, the court said, targeted this group, not like any other group. So they put burdens on them that no one else had been brought to. And so it really is like the group that sort of wanted it to, like, get what they wanted, ended up undermining themselves by going over the top. Had they just sort of said, oh, violation, and then they go through the...
Had they treated the violation like anything else, it would have been fine. But they overtly, abused their powers, which then messed up their entire case, because then the Supreme Court came back and said, actually, you really overstepped, regardless of whatever the issue was, same sex or not.
It's kind of like a lot of people have seen movies and stuff where, you'll have somebody that commits a crime and the police come in and they mess up the crime scene, but the person's guilty, but because the procedural part by the police wasn't done right, the evidence gets thrown out, and then the person goes free. It's kind of like that. It's like they got so excited and jumping in on this group that they screwed up their process.
Because they treated them different.
And that's what got it booted out. So it's not that the Supreme Court is saying, yes, this is okay. They're saying, no, that's irrelevant to the situation because this issue is wrong.
Basically, Colorado treated the bakers differently for treating someone else differently. And that's not the proper way to handle that.
10 times fast.
Have another bottoms up and then say it 10 times fast.
Right.
At some point, you got to trust the system to work.
The system.
Trust. Yeah.
At least the system needs to trust the system for a while.
The system needs to trust the system a little bit. Colorado needed to trust the system a little bit, not to just completely mess up their own case, because that is exactly what they did. The Supreme Court did not hold one way or another whether the baker had the right to discriminate against a same-sex couple. They did not make an opinion on that. Rather, they pushed the case back down to the lower court.
So this will make a circle back. It's going to come back.
Most likely.
I don't know.
It might.
You're going to have a different case.
Well, they
didn't send it back for, what do you call that? Not remediation, but they didn't send it back to the court to correct itself. They said the commission blew it, and so it's done.
I thought they had the opportunity. I'm not sure, but
I didn't look at it.
But sometimes they bounce it back to the court and say, you got it wrong, correct it.
This take it back.
This was an outside group, not the court.
Yeah.
So
there's important parts of these procedural things, but honestly, that's one of the big things that's coming up with this new Supreme Court vacancy from Kennedy stepping down.
With our nominee named last night.
Yep.
Yes. Last night, Brett
Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
Brett Kavanaugh.
And there's something like the people who were knocking him. He was in the Washington, D.C. circuit.
Right.
So it was interesting listening to what goes on there. I mean, they do a ton of administrative stuff there, the place where all the federal regulations get brought through. But he was involved in one of the cases that came up to the Supreme Court that had to do with the Obamacare.
Yes. Yep.
And so as I heard different people talking about he's good, he's bad, one of the things that I guess the conservative side of the House said, we didn't like the fact that he found a technicality to undermine it, not to call it wrong in general. It's the exact same thing.
Right.
Well, if you're going to call it a tax, then
they wanted him to say, hey, this is wrong.
Morally. You can't, right. So if you can't make people pay for something that they don't want, well, but you have the authority to tax.
Right.
So if you're going to say it's a tax, which at the beginning, if you remember all this stuff,
No.
at the beginning, this isn't a tax, this isn't
It's not a tax.
this isn't a tax.
It's a penalty.
now
But
when
it's not a
it's-
penalty. It's a tax, but it's not.
Right, so when it was convenient to be a tax then,
They
Yeah.
called it
they're like,
tax.
okay, if it's a tax,
Oh yeah.
so that's what Robert said in his decision. So the guys, I'll tell you, Kennedy has created his own little train of like people because this guy clerked for him.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
he did.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah.
He actually
Interesting.
for him. He was he worked for the White House.
Yep.
For a bit.
I knew he worked for the White
Which
House.
I didn't
He
know
did some
what
stuff with
did
Bush.
he do? Was he like general counsel for the White House?
I'm going to take it that he was counsel. I believe he was counsel for the White House.
I know they
yeah.
did the
During the
remember
Bush
somebody said something, they
administration.
did
Bush
when
administration.
he got his nomination for his current position, they had some sort of a party on the White House lawn for him, something
Oh.
that was unique and
Huh.
so didn't
Yeah,
really
Bush
happen
appointed or Bush nominated him.
Right,
actually, so.
right.
Right.
Yeah, Bush
Nominated
appointed
him.
To be, he nominated him, and he went through. I was flipping through. I accidentally flipped a channel last night that somehow was like some obscure C-SPAN channel. I just hit the wrong buttons,
Okay.
and so I ended up watching C-SPAN. And they have already pulled up last night. They had pulled up his Senate hearing when he was being brought through for the appellate position.
Yes.
Okay.
I heard a
And
little
so I'm
bit
watching.
about
I'm looking at him like, wow, look
Yeah.
at him. Chuck Schumer
That's
was
exactly
going
what I was
off
gonna bring
on
up.
him.
Yep.
And I just wanted to say, so he wanted him
Was it
to.
the abortion right issue?
No, it was, tell me you didn't like one of the nominees.
Oh.
And he's like, what? So they were putting together a list to give to
Right.
the president to nominate people. And so there was a group that was discussing these things. And Schumer wanted to say, tell me you said something negative about someone. I'm like, what kind of silly request
What does
is
that have to do
And
with
so
that?
he used the term chill. I love that term. I think I used it.
Did he?
a while ago. He said, well, to say, if I was to come out and give my sort of inside baseball talk about what was going on behind closed doors, you're going to chill the ability for people to actually come out and say something. If you can now go inside closed doors and make people
come out and say
come out and say what they thought about people.
That's
Well, I'm not,
the
I mean, it's so,
chill references in that context. The chilling effect that it has upon free speech, or the chilling
See,
effect that it
I thought
has.
he was going to say, he looked at Schumer and said, you need to chill
yeah,
out.
everybody needed
man.
to do that.
Yep.
But I can't use that term without thinking of Professor Levins. She was awesome in tying in.
She was a
Chill.
professor for constitutional law back in
Indiana
law school. Yep.
She was awesome. I was just talking about her today when we were talking to Kirsten.
Kirsten.
I'm going to
Yes.
pronounce her name properly now.
Kirsten. Our law clerk. Doing a great job.
She's killing it. So
Hopefully we'll be able to get her on one of these tours.
yeah, actually, she was going to try to be here tonight, and she
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Surprise guest.
got otherwise occupied.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll hopefully see her next week.
There was another question on his original confirmation that I wanted to go back to, and that was specifically on Roe versus Wade and how he would uphold that. And he said he can't give an opinion on it, right? And that's what he
That's
said.
so
He
awesome.
said,
But they know this
so awesome
already.
and
They ask
stupid
it
anyway.
anyway.
They're
They
just
ask it
trying
anyway, knowing it.
yes,
Because they want to be able to say, look, he
Trying to
won't
pull it
answer
out.
the questions for people that don't know.
Oh yeah,
yet.
he won't have. But honestly, he is a judge. He has to follow the law as the law is established. And that's literally exactly what he said. He was like, "The Supreme Court held this. I will follow what the Supreme Court says. But what's your personal opinion on it?
Doesn't matter.
Again,
I will uphold what the." And so,
I
I
always
mean,
I always think
regardless
that
how you feel about his
and it doesn't-
political
but see,
views, that shouldn't come into play.
it doesn't matter which side of the aisle is going. They always, every side tries to use that question, like they're trying to get him
yeah.
to slip,
Yeah.
so they
Such a
can say,
bad-
"Yeah, you're out of here because you violated law. You're done."
I was at an
Yeah.
event. Actually, I was with Pam Martin and SFG
Right.
over in Maryville last night. So I was
Save
coming.
the market dinner.
Yeah. So I was driving back and heard that they had announced it, and then I got home and I was watching somebody's coverage. I can't remember whose it was, but it was like the dude was really, you could tell, honored by this thing, and he talked about just how he has this passion for the Constitution and just loves the law. But he's talking about his family, and he says about his older daughter, she loves sports and she loves to read, and then he goes, and then I can't remember her name, so she loves sports and she loves to talk. And then he reaches over and gives her like a low five, and she just instinctively did it. It was like, that is so
Like, yeah, we got
awesome. That was so awesome. Like, here you are in this like super prestigious. All these people in suits and ties. The president's there, and he goes over and gives his daughter a low five. And she was on it, like right on it too. And she was so happy. Like you just have this great smile. So it's awesome to see like the humanness in people like that. They're going to get right there with the calls. I just kept looking at that family going. Again, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I'm actually super apolitical. But I just kept thinking, man, they're about to get trashed.
Oh man, that's
they're
such a
about
tough
to get
thing
trashed.
I mean, I don't know. The politicizing Supreme Court nominations is one of the worst things that you
It's
can
the
really
wrong
do.
thing to do
It's
at
such
all.
The worst thing you can do. I mean, they are established here for, we don't have terms
They're
for them,
specifically supposed to be outside of all that.
Right.
crap.
exactly. They're not
Right.
supposed to be biased by that. And so they are supposed to be the epitome of apolitical.
Independent,
I will
say,
arm of the
If you
government.
actually read full decisions by the Supreme Court, you see a lot of good analysis.
Oh, yeah.
There's a
It's
lot
awesome.
of
Amazing
now,
analysis.
There's
They
some
got great
crazy.
clerks.
There's some
They got great
crazy.
clerks.
There's some crazy analysis and some thought processes that kind of they're twisting it to make it work. But
Sometimes a dissent
but
will
those
come
are.
out
But
with
there's
an
just
opinion.
a couple of those. But there's just a couple of those. Most of the decisions are very well thought out, very well argued back and forth between each other. You know, they go back and forth with each other to dig through these things. It's not like they just say, "Well, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to do this. Or I'm a Republican, I'm going to do this." It's
Exactly.
yes, their interpretation might lean that way a little bit because that's how they see the world.
Right.
I might disagree with your interpretation, but your analysis was on point.
Right,
I
right,
understood
exactly.
how you came to what you
Exactly.
came to.
And that's
I
the thing.
believe that it should have come out to this result, but
Right.
honestly, there is some fundamental arguments
Right.
in terms of moral beliefs that these Supreme Court cases are going to go to the crux of.
Yeah.
And sometimes people can fall on two different sides of those with rational arguments, but nonetheless, they have substantial backing behind their opinions, except for the tax penalty Obamacare thing. That one I'll still never get.
No, I won't either. And but to also say this, there's no one person that can run amok in that group.
That's true.
I mean, you are going to be. Let's say you had just this absolutely way out in left field opinion. Well, that's your opinion, but it's not going to rule
It's not
the
going to
board.
sway the court.
No,
I mean,
it's
they're
just going to be a long dissent.
Right. If
by
at all,
one
I
of
mean,
them.
if they even let you file these, I mean,
Right.
you could be so off the ranch that they're like, yeah, we're not going to publish. Go back to we're not going to.
Yeah, we're not
You
going to
can't
publish
use this
that
as
one.
precedent.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's very disappointing. As you go through law school, it was interesting to watch in con law where the court started to sort of push itself into a little more activistness and started to define things in there. But now it's almost like there's this expectation you have to have some political balance in the court. There shouldn't be any political balance in the court. It should be a group of 9
I'll tell you what
individuals
started.
who.
What started the chain of events with that? FDR and the New Deal. There are 9 Supreme Court justices, and they kept overturning FDR's New Deal policies. So FDR went back and constitutionally, he could add positions to the Supreme Court. And he said, I am going to increase the number of justices from 9 to 15, and I'm going to appoint all of them, and they're going to rule in my favor. Or you can start giving me some leeway.
Yeah.
And thus the politicalization of the Supreme Court began. At least as far back as I could say. I'm sure that there were other political emphases prior to that, but that was such a huge turning point for the court that honestly, ever since then, you could just see little bits here and there. But unfortunately, this new justice that potential candidate here, that I believe that he might be put through the ringer.
He's going to put
Yeah,
through
he's
the
gonna
ringer. He's
be.
going to be viewed that way.
But I remember when I was in college, way back when, first run at college, the Clarence Thomas Senate hearings, and that was probably the first Supreme Court hearing that really made like a lot of noise.
Yeah.
That I can remember. I mean, you had Borg that made a lot of noise too, but I mean, like they dragged a whole lot of stuff out there that were completely impertinent to.
And why would they have drug
process.
that up for Clarence Thomas?
I can't imagine.
Can't imagine.
But,
Go ahead and Google it. You'll see exactly why.
Yeah, but it just seemed like a whole lot to do about nothing. When you're asking questions, you know the person can't answer. To try to
It's
create
posturing, like any other political thing.
Yeah.
It's posturing. So, I guess we'll see what happens when this guy gets on here and when the First Church of Cannabis gets all the way up to the Supreme
He
Court.
did say he was going to appeal it.
He said he was going to. The guy.
If he lost his case, he was going to appeal it.
Now it's they seem like nice people. They seem like they're
Loving people, really.
They're loving. They all love you and lots of pleasant, relaxed talk.
Honestly, I'm intrigued to see how it develops.
I kind of want to look at the case now. Now we're kind of jumping back to the First Church of Cannabis issue.
We're bringing it right back
because we're getting near the end of our time here. We got to wrap up. But I want to see kind of what they were proposing, like this, like, oh, any day of the week our parishioners can come in here and take sacrament. Or is this like once a week on Wednesday for an hour? We're going in here and so everybody gets like 2 puffs or something, and that's what they're doing.
How do you quantify sincerity of belief? How would you really
but you can't do that. The courts can't judge that.
That's what I was going to say. That's the problem. The courts can't do that.
But if that's what I'm saying. If they have a reasonable schedule and they're saying, look, we do this once a week, and everybody's going to, but just like the Christian church, they come up and they do communion, and everybody comes up and takes it, and once a week they come up and take it, and that's it. Well, once a week they're going to come up and take a puff on the hookah pipe, and then they're going to go back to their seat, and that's it. That's very different than saying, hey, we're going to show up every day. And
that's just going to be germs. People are going to get money.
I guess technically the wine and the wine glasses, they can do like individual, like plastic tip.
Yeah, exactly. You got to swap them out.
Just
bring your bowl. Bring your bowl.
Yeah, bring your own bowl.
Well, but you talk about
you bring your Bible.
Well, then you got paraphernalia when you walk out the store. Then you got the other thing. Then you got another.
One of the other cases we learned about in con law was like the group in Florida that wanted to sacrifice animals.
Oh, the chickens.
Yeah, and it's like, no, that's not gonna fly. That there's all sorts of, but it got to the Supreme Court. It got to the Supreme Court.
It did. It got all the way up there. So.
It's amazing what gets there and what doesn't. So it'll be interesting to see how things shake down and what all this stuff means going forward.
Well, if they do that, the guy is doing it right to bring it against Indiana because he's got a chance that Indiana will still not have legalized marijuana by the time it gets to the Supreme Court if he takes it all the way.
Yeah.
Because I think other places are going to go a little bit faster.
Yeah, Indiana might be one of the last ones. Maybe not the last,
that would be the other argument. I'd say if this is really that important to you, go to Colorado, go to wherever it is,
or go to the legislature.
Yeah, but then you start the precedent saying you can't worship here in this state. You have to go to another state.
We discriminate against religions in this state.
Yeah, and then you run into that question. So I think it's actually good to deal with it here because this state is going to be a holdout.
Almost like a state that implements something that says you can't drink wine on Sunday.
Well, I'm going to go to read that.
But they didn't say you couldn't drink wine.
Oh, you couldn't. I'm sorry,
so you couldn't
purchase
buy. So you could buy Saturday and prep for Sunday.
That's right. But that was originally
unless you go to a restaurant, then you can buy.
That was originally driven by the idea that they didn't want to have someone going out and purchasing wine on Sunday who may be Catholic, who might be Irish, and might be an immigrant, thus influencing the blue laws.
Wow, I have never heard that.
I've heard that logic.
No, I've actually heard it was more the liquor stores and stuff didn't want it.
In the recent, yes. In the most recent, it was not about immigrants when it was originally established. It was a little bit more about movement of peoples into particular states.
Okay, I'll have to look that one up.
Go ahead, double check.
I will.
But most recently, they didn't want to have it done because liquor stores wanted a day off. Right. That was the most recent lobbyist efforts against now Indiana, which does allow purchases on Sunday.
I think the other argument was that the liquor stores were afraid that if they could sell on Sunday, if everybody could sell on Sunday, that people would buy the booze and stuff when they go to get their groceries rather than going to the liquor store.
They wanted the day off. They wanted to take the day off.
Yeah,
that's what it boiled down to. Like, we have to be open 7 days a week. And it was.
But hey, now they get like the morning and evening off because you can't purchase till 11, and you have to stop purchasing at 6 on Sundays or something like that. So,
but
there's like a little time off.
States discriminating against particular religions using legislature.
Correct.
That's a crux of what this argument really is. Can the government, and specifically with this, the Indiana Freedom of Religion Restoration Act, can they be excluded because of this slippery slope argument?
So you're saying the judge just dismissed it?
She dismissed
She didn't rule on it.
Well, she probably dismissed it with prejudice, which means that they're probably not allowed to bring it again.
Other than on appeal.
I would be shocked if she would just dismiss with prejudice. That would be.
She look at the merits of the case.
I'd have to. But did she?
Slippery
slope. Do we know? I don't know.
There was arguments filed. There was arguments filed.
I wonder why she didn't just rule on it.
I mean, I guess maybe there was what's called a motion to dismiss, or it would be a motion to dismiss, where they're saying that there was not a valid argument that could even be had because fundamentally it's illegal.
Right. That would be.
Fundamentally, it's illegal. You can't come to the court and say make this unillegal. You need to go through the legislature to do that. And if we were
saying, I hope they didn't actually write. I hope they wrote make it legal, not make it illegal.
Was their attorney also a member of the church?
Right, and he's the one that used the term unillegal.
I'm kind of thinking here, there's a lot of precedent out there that, there's the peyote case and some of these different cases where just because a substance is illegal doesn't necessarily mean that, it can't be argued in a court in regards to a religious service.
Well, that's the freedom of the open access to the court.
Interesting.
Within the United States of America.
So Isaac will have a brief ready for us.
Isaac's gonna put that together for next week. So
that's right, I'll draft that.
Check us out on CCSK Law.
Where are we gonna be next week?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Pop quiz.
We'll get that in a second. Right now, we are.
Check us out on Facebook to find out.
Yats.
We are at Yats, right on the.
That's right. Enjoying the nice bottoms up beer and what
I had an Oberon because that's my summer go-to. What? Korea.
We're heading to Korea.
We went there.
It was a while ago.
Last year,
a couple times.
Yeah,
we were right on the brink of
we set
wireless
and inside ones.
There.
Yep.
We'll have to make sure we get
some more Saganaki.
Yeah, Saganaki.
I'll never forget
they have good crab cakes.
That's right. It's like flaming cheese.
Flaming cheese.
Way too excited about crab cakes.
I love the crab cakes.
And we're sitting here talking about flaming cheese and
flaming cheese.
That's right. We're getting super excited about next week.
But check out Yats. Check out Yats. They have really good
Creole
food.
Crazy.
It is Cajun Creole Crazy.
Super delicious. I'm grabbing food right after.
I've been here several times. I've never had a bad meal here. It's fantastic.
I've never had a meal here.
The beer thing that looks just fascinating and fun.
Only one in Northwest Indiana. Fills it up from the bottom. And you can have the possibility of getting a free dinner.
Now yours, we got to give the reveal here. You got to check that because I think yours is red or orange. It's close.
Does it?
It's hard to tell. You might have an orange one there.
You can have mine as well.
Is it red?
It's liquid. It's a round cup, and he's turning the cup like he's going to see it.
I know.
I was looking at other colors. It's a mix of. It's not a solid color, RG. I can't.
Why is this not revealing itself?
Why is it not
What's going on?
Let me press up the bottom.
Oh my! Yeah, there you go. Finish it.
So much
So,
fun here.
All right, while he's finishing that, CCSKLaw.com, Facebook, check us out. 219-230-3600 if you want to call.
Yep. We've got that form right on the website. If you've got a question, you can hook it up there for us. And you can always post a question on the video if you're watching later.
So this is the magnet. I think that it had to have some orange on the bottom, though. But right now it's...
Yeah.
Because it's got a little orange in there, though.
So now you get to throw it at a board?
Wait. Lindsay.
Uh-oh. What?
Well, Lindsay might have a...
Let me see.
404.
I think that...
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Let me see. It's quite... It looks orange. This might be the free dinner one. We need to get Robin.
You gotta go check with get Robin out here.
Yep.
She can come out real quick.
Take her this one as well.
But
I'm pretty sure that might be it.
That might be it. I don't know.
Wow. Lindsay may have won the free dinner, but I'm gonna take
tune
mine
in next week to find out.
Winner, Yats dinner.
Yep. I'm gonna try to take mine and throw it up on the board, the magnetic board, where you can then get a free piece of cheesecake.
I love it.
Right, with the magnet. So
Good
it's going to take
luck
some
with
skill. But attorneys here, your neighborhood attorneys, CCSK Law,
Friendly neighborhood attorneys.
your friendly neighborhood attorneys. Now I'm just a small town pizza boy.
It's all. Wow.
So, but we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for joining us this week.
Have a good night, everybody. I got to remember to shut this off. How do I do that? Where am I at? Oh, I'm on the wrong screen.
There you go.
It's twice. It's done.